Hello, folks. Welcome to the newest episode of New Citizens, the podcast with me, your friend and your host, Juan Carlos Morales. It's been a long time since my last episode. Feels like every episode I start the same way. And that's my bad. That's my fault because I wanted to do an episode a week or even more than that, but I haven't been consistent in doing so for various reasons, some of which are I'm highly critical of the episodes I record. I listen to them too much, and I use my perfectionism as an excuse not to post it. Like it's gonna make a difference. It won't make a difference whatsoever whether I think they're perfect or not, because not a lot of people listen, and because this is just all practice, and for me to get better, and for me to do better work in the future. I'm not expecting anything from these episodes. I'm just expecting to put myself out there and to practice, to keep doing it. So I'm going to say it again. I'm going to try to do more. I'm going to do more. I just got to just not even listen. Record and post. I think that's the strategy. I think that's the strategy, folks. I think that's the one I gotta deal with, you know? Record and post. And listen after the fact, and then take some notes and try to be better on the next one. That's it. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? What's going on? I've been MIA because despite all of my efforts, despite everything I did, all the money I spent, all the time and all the care I took to avoid getting sick, I got sick. It's just the way it is. It's really nobody's fault. I mean, some people could have done more, you know, and when it comes down to other people's health and your health, I think being half-ass is the worst thing you can be. But we got sick. I got sick. My wife got sick. My wife's family got sick. My daughter got sick. And we spent 2 weeks in isolation, a little bit more than that. Personally, I got pretty sick for 3 days. I had a fever. What I did was I read somewhere that it's not, while you have COVID, you shouldn't rush to take medication that lowers down your fever because it may prevent your body from dealing with the virus effectively, because the fever is a defense mechanism. So what I did when I got the fever is I let it ride for like 10 hours. It kept going up steadily. But I kept feeling worse, but I kept fighting, like saying no medication, up until like 3 in the morning, from like, 2 p.m. till 3 in the morning, just fighting that, I had such a bad headache. I had such bad body pain, and I kept fighting until 3 a.m. I couldn't do it. I couldn't sleep with the headache. I was doing breathing, I was doing like the, what's his name? The Iceman. What's his name? I forgot his name. Iceman, the old man that likes to take ice baths. And he does a lot of breathing exercises. I forgot his name. What's his name? Wim Hof. There you go. I was doing the Wim Hof breathing, and for a little bit, I was able to accept and control the headache, but I don't have enough practice, so I wasn't very effective doing it. And at some point, I couldn't rest with the massive headache, so I had to take ibuprofen, 600 milligrams. And that brought down the fever as well. The fever wasn't as bad as, like feeling hot and sweating and all that. It wasn't as bad as the headache. I mean, the headache was incredible. By 2, 3 in the morning, I couldn't do it anymore. So I had to take it. And of course, it made me feel better. So I was able to rest that night. When I woke up, I had a headache again. And then I had this lower back pain that I never felt before, which was very strong, and it really fucked with me because what I felt like I needed to do to get better was to rest, and these headaches and the backaches just didn't allow me to feel comfortable enough to rest at any point. So if I was laying down on my back, I couldn't rest. Too much pain on my lower back. If I was laying down on my side, it was just impossible to feel comfortable enough to rest. So I tried to take one dosage of ibuprofen per day to deal with, especially at nighttime, after like 5 p.m., to be able to rest, to be able to sleep. Because if I can't sleep, I'm not gonna get better. So that was my battle with COVID. It was like me not trying to take medication, and then having to because I wasn't able to rest. And with the medication, fortunately, it exists. I was able to sleep at least 4 or 5 hours continuously, which is what I needed to get better. And then eventually I got better. I went to get blood work. My blood work was pretty good. And then they looked at my lungs. My lungs were perfect. So that was that. My wife, she had a little bit of a headache, but she wasn't complaining at all. So she was feeling pretty good. I think we were all also very worried. You know, it gives you a. I want to talk about that next. Mila had a fever for 1 day, and then she felt great. And for the most part, my wife's family was okay. The father got sick for a few days, had a fever, but he's okay now. So we're all okay, luckily. And I was thinking about my whole COVID experience. You know, I've experienced the whole thing. You know, family members dying from COVID. I've experienced, you know, the isolation, staying away from people, the stress, the fear. I've experienced all those things. And then getting the disease and having to deal with that. So I think that was the hardest part besides the pain. The hardest part was the fear. You know, you find out you've been exposed, you find out you're positive, and your whole family's positive, and then you get fucking worried. You get worried because you know this is a new disease. The media and all these countries in around the world and all these deaths, and that shit adds up. You know, all the stress, all the anxiety adds up, and now you got it, and the people that you love the most, your family, your immediate family has it, and you don't know what the hell is gonna happen. You don't know what the hell is gonna happen. The odds are the odds. The mortality rate, they're just numbers. You know, the odds may be very bad to win the lottery, but somebody won it in Idaho, and that person beat the odds. And most kids don't get sick, but holy shit, maybe mine will. Or most 35-year-olds won't die from it, but holy shit, maybe I will. And I don't want to die from this shit. And that's the type of crap that was going through my mind. And also, like, the other part was like, all right, you got it. Now what you going to do about it? Fucking figure it out and fight through it. And that was the other side of it. It's like a push-pull type of thing. It's very strange. And I'm not like the most mentally sound human, you know. I'm explosive and I'm fucking chaotic and I'm highly emotionally charged. Like you can't even imagine. People that don't know me don't know, you know, like what it is to deal with myself. It's me dealing with me, and then my family having to deal with me. It wasn't easy, and that part of the experience was, I think, the most draining for me. The not knowing. But at the same time, fortunately, I also have a fighter in me. You know, like I'm a fighter, and I don't mean like a real MMA fighter. I'm a fighting spirit. Like I like to overcome stuff, and I didn't want to let fucking COVID take me out. That's not the way I wanted to. That's not the way I want to go out. You know. Sometimes it's really not up to you. Like my uncle, he didn't want to go out that way either. But this is just the way it is. But I had this fighting spirit and this anxiety and all this shit put together really made me, you know, in retrospect, it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about, and not so many good things about myself, a lot of bad things. I learned a lot of bad things about myself that I knew already, but I had pushed deep down, far back, so that I didn't have to think about it. Because most of us don't want to think that we're bad or anything like that. We like to, a lot of us, a lot of people, especially people that I know, think they're better than they are. I think I was one of them. So COVID has been a painful but invaluable lesson in my life. COVID, that's the only way I can describe it. It has been a painful, glorious, invaluable lesson in my life. And sad, very sad. I felt very sad. Sadness, lots of sadness from this thing, you know. Sadness from from losing people that I love, sadness from hearing about people losing people they love, just sadness, like just collective sadness, like taking in the sadness of the shit, how it was politicized, sadness of how, politics fucking infiltrates everything and makes people get at each other's throats, when a time like this we're supposed to be together to try to get better together. Anyways, but I've learned invaluable lessons that I will take with me and talk to Mila about in the future. And in times of crises, we really see the true colors of those who surround us. We really see whose priorities, who is a priority for who, and what is a priority for who. And that's very important to know, because when everything is rosy and gold and fucking flowers are raining from the rainbow, doesn't matter, because everybody's doing good, and there's no need for truth and clarity. Everything is good. You can enjoy. You can partake. You can indulge. You can do whatever you want. But when shit hits the fan, that's when you want to know who's who, and who matters to who, and what matters to who. So strategically, you know how to think and how to handle things. You know where to place the people in your life on a board to see who you can count on and what you can count and who you can't. And that's important for me to know. And I was able to figure that out, figure some of that stuff out, and that's very valuable. And also about myself, I like to talk a lot. We like to talk about other people, but seldom do we criticize ourselves. And for a long time, I've been thinking backwards. I think for a long time I've been thinking backwards. For a long time, I haven't been honest with myself. For a long time, I have been playing a part, some sort of role, for some reason that I don't understand. But the truth is evident, and the truth is that that there's a lot of work that needs to be done here for me. I'm not all there like I want to be. I'm not in top mental health shape. I am not in top mental health shape, and that's concerning, because mental health should be and is a priority. Should be prioritized in every human. Mental health, getting into healthy patterns, recognizing bad patterns. Where does that come from? How do we fix it? How do we get to the bottom of it? Who is it affecting? Is your mental health affecting you and everybody else around you? And the likelihood of that being true is very high, right? It's very high. So you have to, this stuff has to compel you to make some new choices, to try to figure the shit out and try to become better. And then that becomes the challenge. What's the challenge? The challenge is whatever that it is that is affecting me in my mental health, I have to learn how to control. I have to learn how to recognize it, control it, and turn it into something better. That's my goal as far as my mental health is concerned. It was a real eye-opener for me. I mean, a lot of this stuff I knew, but again, I put it in the back. I would sugarcoat it like, yeah, I'm just explosive. Yeah, I just have explosive. I'm like that. My family is like that. We're explosive in anger. We a lot of my family's been depressed for a long time, undiagnosed, and so that stuff is hereditary. You inherit it from your family. A bunch of crap. There's a bunch of shit. All I'm saying is, yeah. Let's not talk about it. Yeah. No. Mental health is a serious thing, and I'd rather have top mental health, tip top. I'd rather be in tip top shape mentally than have some freaking six pack or big biceps. You know what I'm saying? But curiously enough, one of the best ways to work on your mental health is by working out and being physically active. That's just the way we were designed COVID has been a real eye-opener for most of us, for all of us. I hope that all of us learned something. Learned a lot about viruses, how they work. Learned a lot about the state of the world and how globalization could be both good and bad. How billionaires rule the world. How everybody was starving and billionaires became trillionaires. How governments are just arbitrary in their decision making and how they're disconnected from reality, making and dictating draconian measures that have killed businesses, killed people, ruined lives, caused incredible pain. I hope we've learned who is who in our life and who we really are in time. Who are we in times of crises? There's a lot of stuff that we had to take from this. If we survived it, and if the majority of us survived it, and that doesn't make it less special that we survived it. It's a miracle that we all survived it. This shit could have been way worse. It could have been like the bubonic plague that killed 30 or 40% of anybody it infected. Imagine. Half of your family wiped out. Half of your friends wiped out. Half of your company wiped out. So we're extremely lucky. And we're not out of the weeds yet. This virus is still out there. The truth is still out there. We haven't found the truth. We haven't found the truth. We've been lied to. We haven't found the truth. There's other viruses out there. There's other laboratories all over the world, especially in China, who are playing with viruses, who are making up viruses. This is dangerous shit. This is serious stuff, ladies and gentlemen. This is not like let's get back to open up the theaters. Open up the comedy clubs. Yeah, we want to work, but this shit is serious. This shit is serious. What happened is serious. How all these countries got together and made like global rules, dictated global behavior in the humans that inhabit the earth. That shit is crazy. How they're still making global decisions on who needs to get inoculated, everybody needs to get back. They're thinking about implementing vaccination, like vaccine passports or some shit like that, right? Some states have said, hell no, not over here. And usually those are red states. And then the blue states and countries and different countries are like, yeah, vaccination passports. Let's vaccinate everybody. I like to think that think about it like this, right? Why is vaccination so important to these governments? Why is vaccination so important to these governments? Because governments need to be seen in order to stay in power and not cause chaos. They need to convince the majority of the population that they are competent. Governments need to convince the majority of the population that they are competent and that what they do is usually the right thing for most of the people. They cannot be seen as groups of people who are so disconnected from reality that they make the craziest and most absurd decisions that cost incredible and absurd amounts of money, and that they fucked up, and that the virus isn't as bad as they said it was, and the measures were way out of line, and the cure we already had medication and stuff like that. We could have done it differently. Imagine they come out and say, yeah, we spent a couple of billion of your taxpayers' dollars, but you know what? We realize that we don't need the vaccine. Only vaccinate 70 plus, and everybody else doesn't need the vaccine. What are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that? Huh? They can't say that. They can't say that. They can't say that vaccines are not necessary because they just spent billions and billions and billions of dollars to get vaccines. They have mobilized companies. They have made deals with companies who have invested money, who have moved heaven and earth to get something out there. And now they can't say, oh, no, you don't need vaccines. Yeah, vaccines are voluntary. If you want to get vaccinated, good. If you don't, it's okay. Most likely you have the antibodies, and maybe you could have protection for years. And you know what? You get if you stay in shape and you get it again, same likelihood of survival. Imagine, they're not gonna say that because they have sold their strategy to the people, and it has cost these nations billions and billions and billions of dollars. And then the measures that they've taken are so out of line, are so dramatic that they can't pedal back on this. The machine is in full motion. Good or bad, they're going to force everyone to get vaccinated. Even if it's good for us or bad for us, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this shit is... you can't stop this train. You can't stop this massive fucking train that they've created. You can't stop it. So whether the science is legit, whether the truth has been told, whether they're just way incompetent, whether call it whatever you want, the truth is still out there, and they haven't told it to us. So there's a lot to be learned, and there's a lot to be skeptical about. You can make your own decisions. You can make your own conclusions. You can think about it however you want to think about. You can think about it however you want to think about it. But this shit is bigger than what they're telling us, and that's that. That's that. I don't want to talk about this shit anymore. I went through it. For me, COVID, as far as I'm concerned, for me, COVID is dead. Like, that's it. I have closed that chapter. Whether I'm getting vaccinated or not is not relevant here. Whether I'm going to wear a mask, of course, I'm going to wear a mask around other people. Of course, I'm going to wash my hands often. I'm living in society. If I want to, even if I don't believe half of the shit that's being said and all these facts and all these, facts that fight on other facts, I'm still going to be a respectable human living in society. So yes, I'm going to wear a mask because I want people around me to feel like I care, because I do. I care about people. I want to be a positive influence in my environment. I don't want to be a negative, selfish influence in my environment. I want to be a good person to myself, my family, and other people. So even if it means nothing to me personally, I'm still gonna fucking do what I think is classy and right for the other people. Because I don't live in this world by myself. I need the clerk at the store. I need the bank to be open. I need the coffee lady to make the coffee. I need the cleaning lady to come here and clean. I need, so people are good. I need people. We need each other. We need each other. If you're stuck somewhere without people, you're fucked. If you wake up one day and there's no people in a 100-mile radius from where you are, you, my friend, are fucked. You by yourself. Nobody else. No help. You're done. People are gold. People are platinum. People are treasures. Anyways. What else? I had some notes here I wanted to talk about, because I forget. I get caught up and I forget. I want to do, if you got this far, 23 minutes into this podcast, I want to do something with you. Like, this could be Ivan or Daniel or my brother or my sisters or some of my friends or somebody new. I don't know. Unlikely, but maybe. Today, I often go through this, especially I often go through my own mortality. I think about it. I'm obsessed by it because it's inevitable. So I'm obsessed by it. I'm not scared of it, but I'm always often thinking about my life in the context of my mortality. And I think about my days and I think about my time, like right now, in context of my mortality. Because that's how I like to think about it. That's how it makes sense to me. That's how it becomes valuable. And in that context, through that lens, I like to make decisions. I like to make decisions in that context through that lens. So I want to do this exercise with you. I'll do it myself. And if you have time to do it yourself, do it. So let's imagine for a second. Let's imagine that we're 2 weeks away from our inevitable departure, and we have no longer the ability to be mobile, to do things for ourselves, and now we're on our deathbed. And this is a very common way for people to go. My grandmother was on her deathbed for a few years. She needed assistance with absolutely everything. So we're 2 weeks away from our inevitable departure. And a lot of things don't work properly, but our mind works and our memory works to a certain extent, And we're going through our life. And we're going through our life from the lens of what did I do right and what did I do wrong? And what would I wish I would have done different? And I guess in my case, I would, pray. I don't know if to God, but I would do some sort of meditation and pray and try to connect with the universe in some way, and be grateful for my life, be grateful for the opportunity to be alive, and also ask for forgiveness and eventually try to forgive myself right before I go, I hope. But one of the questions that really, I can't go through what I did right and what I did wrong, because it'll take fucking 20 hours. But the one thing the part of the exercise that I want to do here is I want to, I like to think, okay, so why would I, if it's 2 weeks from now and this, the scenario I laid out is actually happening, what are the things that what would be the things that I would most regret from my life that I lived and that it's about to end? What are those things that I would regret? And to be honest with you, making more money is not even close to one of them. Oh, I should have made more money. Nah, I should have worked more hours at fucking Time Warner Cable. No, I should have worked more hours at Dunkin' Donuts. I should have worked more. Not even close. When I think about it deeply, and I'm being honest with myself, some of the things would sound something like this. And I wish I would have spent more quality time with my daughter. Man, I wish I would have been nicer and kinder and more understanding to my wife and my closest family. I wish I would have asked for forgiveness for the bad things that I did sooner. I wish I would have forgiven the people that hurt me sooner. Maybe I would say I would wish I'd made more music and believed in myself more, really believed in myself. Maybe I wish I didn't doubt myself so much, and maybe I'd regret allowing other people's opinions of me, which I probably didn't even understand because they're other people, stop me from doing things that I really wanted to do. I would regret not making more music. I would regret quitting things that I was passionate about. I would regret not doing more sports because I love sports, but being more involved with kids and playing soccer and playing more tennis. Like, for example, if it's 2 weeks from now that I have to go out, one of my regrets, I regret not having learned tennis 10 years ago, because it would have been 10 more years of enjoyment, of the pursuit of getting good at something. I'll probably regret not telling the truth as much as I should have. Being more honest. Yeah. Those are the things that I would probably, if in this exercise. It's important. It's important to go through this, because we have to constantly remind ourselves that everything that we are will not be. Everything that we are will not be for long. Everything that we think we are will not be for long. As important as you think you are, you will not be that important, and you are not that important for a long time. We have to remind ourselves that everything that we think we are, even if we're not, or even if we are, we will not be for a long time. Very, very soon, all that will be gone. And even sooner than that, in the context of the history of the world, we will be forgotten. Most of us will not be remembered by anyone. And it's a fucked up thing to think about from the perspective of a human, right? Who's so emotional in everything that we do. We seek for clarity and purpose, and we strive to find it. And we do incredible feats to try to get close to an answer, closer to the light. And fucking, we never get that close to it because ultimately we're not here for enough time to even scratch the surface. We're not here for enough time to do anything that great so that we'd be remembered for 1,000 to 2,000 years or 100 years, 200 years. That's the way it is. So these exercises let me, ground me into the reality that though may be dark to some people's, in some people's perspective, to me is liberating. It's liberating. To me, it creates this freedom. Because, again, whatever you think you are or you're not, you won't be for long. So take the time you have, the little bit time that you have, Juan Carlos Morales. Take the little time that you have, despite what anyone thinks, because it doesn't matter. It won't even if it matters today, it won't matter for long. And follow your heart, buddy. Follow your heart. Have the courage to follow your heart, man. Not gonna matter. None of you who are listening are gonna change the world, man. None of us are gonna change the world, but we can change our life. We can change our life. Because we won't be here for long. Deep shit, man. Deep shit. All right. Let's change the topic before I start crying over here. Holy shit. Let me see. What else? Speaking of which, I want to talk about. Well, you know what? It's kind of good. It's kind of a good segue, because COVID, doctors' opinions, experts. We've been dealing with experts in different fields forever. And we know that knowledge, a lot of things that we thought were true 100%, later down the road are proven to be untrue 100%. And I was talking about this with my wife very passionately because, when I fucked up my knee when I was 12 in the Bronx, when this Egyptian guy kicked me and blew out my knee, fucked up my ACL, I got a surgery. And after 1 year of the surgery, they told me I could play again, whatever. They didn't even do their due diligence to make sure that the knee was ready. They just went, oh, you got this a year ago? Yeah, you're ready to go play, whatever. They told me to go play, and a month later, I had the same injury all over again. We went back to the doctor, and the doctor said, "No more monkeys jumping on the bed." No, we went back to the doctor, and the doctor said, "You need a bigger surgery. You need a total knee replacement." And of course, the person that was talking to me was a surgeon back 20 years ago, and the surgeon studied, spent a lot of time of his life and paid a lot of money to an educational institution to become a surgeon so he can do surgeries. So the surgeon who loves to do surgeries told me when I was 12 or 13 and my mother that we needed a full knee replacement and that it was inevitable because the damage was so bad that it needed to happen. And my mom, I didn't speak that much English back then, so my mom didn't either, but she understood more than I did. And she translated that I needed another surgery. And I told her with tears in my eyes, because the first one was so bad, and so painful and so traumatic for me, especially living the way that I was living with the people I was living with. It wasn't like I had a perfect environment for rehab and recovery. I was living in hell. Like getting out of my house was what I was looking forward to every day until until every day of my life while I was living there. You know, I didn't grow up in the most loving environment. So I didn't want to go through that again. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to go through it again. So with tears in my eyes, I'm like, Mom, I don't want to do this again. And she tells the doctor he doesn't want to do it again. And the doctor tells me, he says, look, if you don't do this surgery that I'm telling you to do, you will never be able to play sports again. Think about it. I'm 12 years old. Living in a negative environment. Gone through a fucking bad 1 year of my life with a fucked up leg. Stuck at home. A place that I hated being in. And he says, hey, if you don't do the surgery, then you will never play sports again. You may not even be able to walk normally again. Scared the shit. Who the fuck do you think you are to tell a little boy this type of shit? Like, that's what I think. That's how I think now. So this doctor told me this. Of course, I was 12, and he's a doctor. He's a surgeon, big fucking surgeon. And my mom believes him, so I have to believe him. But I still decided to not do the surgery. I decided to believe the man. And I decided at that moment, in my mind, because the mind is powerful, at that moment I gave up on sports, on all sports. In that moment I made up my mind. I said, the doctor said I can't, so I stopped. The power that doctor had in my life, the consequences of those words in my life at that young, gentle age, it's fucked up that he's allowed to tell people that. Definitive. Right? He's allowed to say something, to tell somebody, a person, you won't be able to do X and Y and Z if you don't do what I say. For the rest of your life is a long motherfucking time. The fucked up part about it is not only that he says it just like that, is that I believed it. And that he conditioned me to give up on my fucking dreams. And what makes it even worse is that he was fucking wrong. He was wrong. He was fucking dead wrong. Dead wrong. I'm proving it every day. Dead wrong. Yes, maybe he could have said, hey, it'll be very hard for you to become an elite athlete and make millions of dollars. And I would have accepted that today because it's even with perfect legs, it's almost impossible. But don't take my fucking dreams away from me because I don't want to do what you say this moment. It's also my mom's fault because she should have fucking she should have digested that moment and fed it to me differently. You understand? She should have fed it to me in a different way. She should have been more thoughtful, more. But of course, my mom did what she could with the knowledge that she had, with the awareness. You know, I understand. But, if ideal situation would be the kid gets hurt, doctor has one opinion, and we go get more opinions, and we try to figure out all the alternatives, and then we make a decision. Not, you don't do what I say, you will never be able to do that again, and then it's reaffirmed by the people that take care of you. So the point of the story is that that's how easy it is for somebody to have a negative impact on your life. Is allowing them to take real estate in your head. For the next 20 years, well, for at least the next 10 years after that, I didn't partake in any activity without first thinking about the words in that moment. Well, the big fucking doctor said, I can't. But I'm walking. Yeah, sometimes I run and I feel okay. Yeah, I've had one or two sprains or, the knee gives out. I understand. But for the most part, I always stopped myself. I didn't pursue a life of athleticism. I didn't pursue a life of sports. I didn't pursue it because that guy owned real estate in my head from that one encounter. Believing what people say is very, very costly. Flat out believing what people say immediately when they say it without further investigation or thought or truth-seeking process or alternative ideas in the same subject, without any of that work, very dangerous and very costly. And I recommend none of you to ever do that. Nobody knows shit. You understand? Yes, doctors and surgeons, they have knowledge and they do help. And they do good work. I have a friend in Colombia who's a great surgeon. He helps a lot of athletes. That's one thing. Another thing is telling somebody what they can, what they will be, and able or unable to do for the rest of their lives if you don't do what they say. That type of talk should never take real estate or take roots in your brain. No one can tell you what you're going to be able to do or not able to do for the rest of your life. No one can tell you what you will be able or not able to do for the rest of your life, no matter what the circumstances are. You could be paralyzed from the neck down and refuse to do the treatment the doctor's saying, and in 10 years, you may be able to figure it out, man. Hold on. Stay tough. Push through. Push through your own doubt. I know for a fact that if you're alive in 10 years, things will be better. And that motherfucker that said that shit is a liar. He doesn't know everything. He knows what he knows now, but he doesn't know what's going to happen in 10 years. You can't believe everything. You can't believe everything just because he or she or the person meets a certain percentage of credibility. Call it whatever you want. Take information. What would I like to do since for a long time? If I could go back and I would change that about me. I would not listen to anybody like I did. Understand? I wouldn't have listened to anybody. I used to listen to people. I used to love listening to people. And then I would believe people because I would think people had my best interest in mind. Because I was naive and I was young and maybe I was dumb too. Maybe I'm still dumb. No, for a fact, I'm still dumb. But I would like to go back in time and not change what happened to me, not change the fucking knee accident, not change not having a father, not change any of that. I wouldn't change any of that. But what I would change is how I believed, what I believed from what other people told me. And what I believed because of what other people said or did. I would change that. I would change that in a heartbeat because that cost me a lot of time. It cost me a lot of opportunities. It cost me a lot of grief. I would change that. Don't believe shit. You believe to a certain degree. To a certain degree. Everything with a grain of salt. Everything. It could be Joe Rogan. It could be the expert of the experts of the experts. With a grain of salt. With a grain of salt. It's just the way it has to be. With a grain of salt. Because we know that the world is so vast. The universe is so vast. Our senses are so limited. Our intelligence is so limited. Computers are smarter than us in many ways. Our bodies are so fragile. Our thought processes are so different and flawed. Lazy. Most of us are lazy in our thinking. Most of us. There's a small number of people who aren't, but that doesn't mean they're right about everything either. Just because you have a high IQ doesn't mean you know everything, buddy. It means you're smart and you can process information a little bit faster than me, but go beat a supercomputer then if you're so smart. But you can't, right? Go beat a supercomputer in chess. You won't. You're not that smart. You don't know everything. You have limitations. We have limitations. We got too complex for our own good, I think, sometimes. We have limitations. Can't believe everything everybody says. Especially if they think that they know everything. If you think you know everything, my friend, I don't want to talk to you. If you think that you have nothing to learn, stay away from me. Stay away from me, please. If you think you have nothing to learn, stay away from me. That you know everything that matters, please get out of my life. Because that's the worst type of fucking... what was it? That's the worst type of influence. All of my friends' parents and my cousins' parents thought I was the worst influence. When in fact I was just the most curious guy out of all of them. I was willing to try new stuff. Anyways, but not out of all of them. That's not true. But I was just very fucking curious. Anyways, this is the longest podcast I think I've done since BFit Radio. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think it was pretty personal, and I think it was okay. It could have been better, of course, but I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna post it no matter what. I'm gonna post it because I want to get good at this. Just the last thing I want to talk about. The internet was an incredible invention, ladies and gentlemen. Incredible invention. But I think the most important thing about the internet, besides like cryptocurrencies and like non-fungible tokens, and kind of like connecting people and allowing workflow to be done faster and more effective, and connecting people in different ways. I think one of the most valuable things that the internet has created are podcasts. The Joe Rogan Experience shouldn't be called the Joe Rogan Experience. I mean, where in hell? Go back 20 years. Where in the world would a regular person have access to a conversation between Joe Rogan, a regular person? He's a regular man. I mean, he's obviously athletic, and he's, he has a lot of abilities a lot of people don't have. But in fact, in terms of like intellect, like he's not like a genius, right? He's a regular guy. He likes to be seen as a regular guy. He's a smart man, very smart man. Has a great memory. He's very curious. He's a great conversationalist. But 20 years ago, where the hell would you get access to a conversation between a person like Joe Rogan and a fucking quantum physicist? Or Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson? Or like a 3-hour conversation. Where the hell were you going to get that from? Unless you're next to him, it would be exclusive to the people that were there. Or maybe there was a tape of it. It's whoever has that tape. But the value of like the most recent podcast that I'm watching, Jordan Peterson and Jocko Willink. Where the hell 20 years ago was I 20 years ago? How the hell could have I gotten access to that conversation where they discuss intensity in reading, for example, which is one of the things I took away from it. Like you could play sports intensely, you can act intensely, you can feel music and play music intensely, and you can read intensely. That connection, no one's going to say that. Who says that? You know what I'm saying? Who says that? Where are you going to get podcasts? Long format podcasts, for the majority of us, is the greatest gift of the internet. Having people like Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson and all these intellectuals and all these people with great achievement, great life experience, great perspectives, different perspectives, hard work and work ethic that outpaces 99.9% of humans. Having those people freely express themselves for hours and hours and hours on end, and having access to that mostly for free, is the greatest gift that someone like me, at least, can obtain from the internet. Much more than the ability that the internet has given me to make a living, because that just creates money. And whatever, see it how you see it. But for me, one of the greatest gifts about the internet, one of the greatest things about the internet is long format podcasts, and the fact that all these incredible people have taken to it. They found a way to monetize, and the incentive was there so that they can spend hours and hours and hours sharing their experience, sharing their perspectives, bringing the smartest minds together and discussing for hours topics that, if you lived in Briarwood 20 years ago, you would never come across. Never, unless it was a book written about it. And most people don't even read books. So, that's that, ladies and gentlemen. This is this. I'm going to try to structure the next podcasts. I'm going to do some reading, maybe some music. It's got to be creative, I want to feel free and to express myself and to evolve. Sometimes even just talking about stuff out loud, it's great. I think everybody should have a podcast. And I don't think I'm special because I'm doing this. Believe me, I don't think I'm special at all. In fact, I took Jordan Peterson on his website. He has a test you can take, like a personality assessment, like know yourself type of test. A bunch of questions, like 100 questions. You answer them truthfully when you're not agitated or something like that. I did answer them after a fight, but whatever. I try to be as objective as I could about myself. And I answered these questions, and it was pretty accurate in its assessment, which is I'm in the middle of absolutely everything. I'm in the middle of intelligence. I'm not too stupid, but I'm not too smart. I'm not too conscientious, but I'm not so sloppy that I don't like to do good work. I'm not so stupid, but also not so intelligent. I'm not so kind, but I'm not so selfish. I'm like in the dead smack in the middle, which was a big fucking wake up. Like, who do you think you are, buddy? Hey, you could know where you stand, know who you are in relation to the rest of the world or a population. Know where you stand. Know what place you're taking. Are you taking the White House or are you taking the sewer? Well, not either one of those, somewhere in between, right? Where? Because in between there's a lot of space. Are you Bill Gates in business? Jeff Bezos? Or are you filing for Chapter 11? Neither of those? Well, you're somewhere in between, right, buddy? We'll find out where. Where are you? Are you telling the truth or are you lying all the time? You always telling the truth? No. You always lying? No. Well, you're somewhere in between. But where? Because there's a lot of space between those two. I did that, and it was a nice smack. Like, remember who you are. Remember what you've done, right? Remember how much. Look objectively at how much work you do in comparison to how much work you think you do. Because I thought I was conscientious and organized. Turns out I'm not. I know I'm not. It's not like the test is telling me something I don't know. It just made it clear. You're organized, but not that organized. You're hardworking, but not that hardworking, buddy. Know where you stand. You can't be perfect at everything. So choose the things. That's how I talk to myself. I'm talking to myself right now because I'm looking at myself on the camera. Choose the things that really matter to you, that you're going to regret on your deathbed, and fucking work on those. And let's see what happens. Maybe the conversation in the end with yourself can change. You know that exercise I did in the beginning? Well, pick those things and work at them. Work at the music. Work at the sports. Work on the things that you listed. Work on the family, on the daughter. Ask for forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Be kinder. Work on those things. But just work on those things relentlessly. And maybe the conversation, those 2 last weeks of your life, can be something else. Maybe the only regret was not having this podcast 20 years sooner. I'll leave you with that, guys. Thank you for listening. I love you to death. Forgive me if I ever hurt your feelings. Please. I didn't mean to. I'm a fucking moron. But we'll get better. Anyways, thank you. For the next one. Ciao, ciao.